and lead inspector for Property Inspector LLC with over 10 years experience and over 4,500 home inspections. Well, first, Jim, you've seen a lot of houses.
I have seen a lot of houses and seen a lot of messes too.
Yeah. Any of them just stand out the most? I mean, is there any one house that for any reason?
Boy, you caught me on that one. No, I see too many.
Too many.
I see too many houses with too many problems. What I wanted to bring up to just kind of roll in with what was being talked about today was some of the top issues and problems that I see when I go into houses that people could really change if they really wanted to sell their house.
So, and this is from the inspection standpoint too. So this is kind of yes.
Well, inspection and buyer.
Okay,
because when I'm there doing an inspection, I've got a buyer there with me. Okay, but these things I'm sure happen all the time when buyers come in to look at the houses too.
So this is kind of your neutral third party, you should have done this to your house before you sell it list.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. Okay. First of all is leave the house if you're the seller. Okay. Following around the home buyer, following around the home inspector, asking questions is just very, very uncomfortable. Now, it really doesn't bother me a whole bunch, and I will put the seller kind of in their place if I have to. But the buyers, they're very, very uncomfortable. And the buyer wants to be able to look in the closets, and they feel very, very uncomfortable doing those kinds of things. So it's okay for the
buyer to follow the inspector around to get a visual on the house.
Great for the buyer to follow the inspector around.
But the seller doesn't need to see the things you're picking. And then I would imagine the seller starts going, no, that's not really there. And it starts making excuses for it.
Well, exactly. Or I was going to fix that. Or,
right.
Oh, God, I didn't know that. Or, let me take care of that right now. And, it's just like, come on, just leave the house.
Right.
Much, much better.
Sure.
Okay. Another biggie is pets. Okay, I mean, I've come into pets where people have said, "Oh, we've got a friendly dog." Walk in the door, and there's a pit bull at the top of the stairs. Okay, pit bulls don't excite me. Okay, litter boxes inside of bathtubs. Okay, these new puppy training diapers that they leave on the floor around the place. Those just really are not very exciting things, and they don't really smell all that great.
Not an animal lover, huh, Jim?
I am an animal lover, as a matter of fact.
Yeah?
And I'm fine, but let's put them in their place. I was talking with one inspector down in Florida, and he said, well, I came into a house that had an alligator in it, a pet alligator.
Wow.
It's, a 3-foot alligator. It's like, well, fortunately we don't have that in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Although I live used to live on Cottage Lake out in Woodinville, and somebody had let an alligator go in the lake one time that they'd brought home from Florida. So those things do happen around here once in a while.
What had happened to the alligator?
They trapped it and got rid of it. Yeah. Okay.
Crazy.
All right. The other thing is bad smells. Okay. From cooking odors to pet smells to a lot of times people just don't realize that their houses do smell, okay? And sometimes when they do, they try to over-fragrance the house.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a 1,200 square foot Rambler, and we were all getting headaches. We couldn't handle it. We had the doors open. I ended up finding and taking out 9 of those plug-in fragrances. The house was so aromatic, nobody could stand being in the house. It was just absolutely amazing. So don't overdo it with the fragrance, okay? And air your house out. And if you got to have your carpets clean and those kinds of things, some of the things they were talking about earlier is really, really good idea. Critters running wild, okay? Now, when I get into an attic or crawl space and there's rodents running around, raccoons in attics, different things like that, if you've got wildlife problems, you got to deal with it. Okay, and that's one reason. I just can't overemphasize to people, get a pre-inspection, a pre-listing inspection, okay? Even if it's just to take care of some of the big things. And the big turnoffs, let me tell you, if I come out of a crawl space and say there's rats in the crawl space, women are pretty much turned off about the house, and the house down the block is looking a whole lot better, okay? If I come out of the attic and the roof is leaking, everybody's kind of turned off, okay? So that those things need to be dealt with.
It's almost, a lot of this is, it's like selling a car. I mean, if you're going to sell your car, at least take it through the car wash.
And vacuum it.
Right? I mean, it kind of, and maybe if you have 14 old trees in there, take them off your mirror.
Yep. No question about it. Now, you guys were talking about, you did the tile in the bathroom, I think. Okay. Now, I've seen some good makeovers, and I've seen some really bad makeovers, okay, and odd little repairs and stuff. And if you can't do it right, get somebody in there to make it right. We were in a house, big, huge remodel for a flip, okay, professionals, so to speak, had bought it. The door, when you'd close it, would swing all the way through because the door jamb was not installed properly to stop the door. I mean, we saw so many problems in this house. It was ridiculous. And it was like, okay, these are all the problems that we're finding. What aren't we finding?
Sure.
So the next week I was doing another house for the same buyers.
I would imagine. So Jim, when you start to see all these things, and I want to get to the rest of them, what goes through your head? I mean, as an inspector, are you telling potential buyers like, hey, this might not be the house that you want, or are you just non-opinion, giving the facts without an opinion?
I give total facts with no opinions. Okay, the only time, and probably maybe 10 times out of over 10 years, have I come out of a house where I've really kind of recommended it not being the right house for them. Now, that house I was talking about with the door jamb, okay, there were so many things wrong with it, and then I went down into the crawl space, and the house looked like it was a fairly new house because they'd done a great remodeling. It had an open crawl space and all kinds of critters underneath the house. It was a 1920s house, and they didn't put a new foundation underneath it. It was still post on pier blocks, and just not the kind of house that a new couple, the wife was pregnant, she was going to have a baby in a couple of months, and we're talking a minimum $100,000 to $200,000 remodel that needs to get done to this house. It's not really the house to step into.
Sure.
You know?
Jim Estrada joins us, lead inspector with Property Inspector LLC. Jim, we have a few minutes left. Any other big ones?
Well, a couple things. Keeping personal items visible, okay, from checkbooks to those kinds of things. I mean, I don't like kind of running into that. Cash laying on counters and that kind of stuff. That stuff.
Bank statements showing how much money you have.
Exactly. So I definitely get that stuff out of the way. Oftentimes I go into houses that people have put in those nice cost-saving light bulbs that you can't see inside of the room because they're so dim. Mm-hmm. Okay, brighten your house up. Get some light into the room so people feel comfortable. Okay, and on a dark, dreary day like this, there's nothing like walking into a nice, bright house.
So let me ask you a question on the lights. So you have the old lights, then you have the fluorescent lights, and now you have the LEDs. And the LEDs are really bright, but they take like a second to pop on. And
they're really expensive.
They're really expensive. You only need a new one like every 25 years. But I just wonder, is that I just bought LEDs for our house because I got sick of my wife saying, hey, you didn't replace light bulbs this weekend. So I was like, well, these ones will last 25 years. And they are expensive, but they take that second. I mean, I guess it's still better than people aren't going to notice that maybe as much as a slightly dim one with some of those fluorescents.
Well, no question, but I think honestly, if you got people coming over to see your house and even for an inspection stuff, to turn some lights on before people get there. Leave the lights on so people walk into a nice bright house.
Sure.
Okay, going to be much more cheerful. Couple other things real quick here. Keys missing out of the lock boxes. Nothing more frustrating than getting there for an inspection and the realtor shows up and there's no key and we can't get in the house, okay? And I'm sure some of you realtors have had that happen to you where you go to show a house and can't find a key in a box. And then distracting photos. Now, you guys were talking about good things on walls, but when I walk into a house sometimes and there's nude photos and those kinds of things or nude pictures, it's like, come on, this is not the place for that. So anyway, in terms of if you're trying to sell your house.
When it's like the guy's wife, right? And you're like, wait a minute, this is too much.
It is. So anyway, those are those, what are those, not Victoria's Secret photos, but whatever. Anyway, you guys know the name of them. Oh, the glamour shots. Yeah, all the glamour shots. Get them out of the house. So anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts in terms of what I see.
It's everybody loves the stuff they have going on in their life more than everybody else loves what's going on in their life, huh?
Exactly.
Unless you're a big shot celebrity, in which case people probably want to see everything. That'd be an interesting segment. How Brad Pitt should sell his house. If he keeps all of his pictures up with him and Angelina Jolie, house price sell. Well, it's probably like $50 million, but nonetheless. Jim, thanks so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Again, Jim Estrada, owner and lead inspector of Property Inspector LLC.